We are live.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, even good evening for some time zones. We are here today. Again, we are following 29th words, which started 3 weeks ago, and it's obviously very important and very nice topic to contemplate upon. So we will move with this topic. It's good to start with the verses, which are the openings, or we are trying to understand these verses in a way. Since all verses are the oceans, we are really trying to have a taste of the oceans of the verses. And this treatise is no exception on this. So, Euzubillahimineşşeytanirracim, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Tenezzelül melâiketi ve ruhu fîhâ biizni rabbihim, kulir ruhi min emri rabbi. In the name of God, the merciful, the compassionate, therein came down the angels and the spirit by the permission of their sustainer. This is from Surah Al-Qadr. And the second verse, say, the spirit is among the affairs of my Lord. This is from Surah Al-Isra. Okay, this is the point we are starting today. Our guest is Colin Turner from UK, Professor Colin Turner. I say Colin Hocam, it's easier for me to say. And Bayper Abi, that's easier for me to say, from Connecticut. And I will be moderating from Starkville, Mississippi. Let me first read as we do. Before maybe getting into reading, I want to remind the previous sections. I went back to the Turkish writing of this treatise, which is the original one. I mean, since it is written originally in Turkish, I noticed Said Nursi's note at the beginning. It says this treatise is about Melaike angels, Bekai Ruh, eternity of spirit, and Hash, resurrection. So I wanted to make a point in this sense. The flow of this treatise is towards resurrection. And also I related to, we were questioning, during 3 weeks, why believing in angels is so important, as a part of the belief. I think one aspect is it is connection to the resurrection. It's part of the resurrection, I would say. I mean, to have a strong belief in resurrection, we need to understand angels. So I wanted to mention about this note of Said Nursi at the very beginning of the treatise. Now I start reading this to contemplate upon. I will just pass to our dear speakers. First aim, to believe in the angels and affirm that belief is a pillar of faith. There are 4 fundamental points in this aim. First fundamental point, the perfection of existence is true life. Rather, the true existence of existence is true life. Life is the light of existence, and consciousness is the light of life. Life is the summit and foundation of everything. Life appropriates everything for living beings. It is as though it makes one thing the owner of everything. Through life, a living thing may say, all these things belong to me. The world is my house. The universe is my property, given to me by my owner. Just as light is the cause of things being seen, and according to some, of the existence of colors, so is the life the revealer of beings. It is the cause of their qualities being realized. Furthermore, it makes an insignificant particular general and universal, and is the cause of universal things being concentrated in a particular. It is also the cause of all the perfections of existence by, for example, making innumerable things cooperate and unite, and making them the means of unity and being endowed with spirit. Life is even a sort of manifestation of divine unity in the levels of multiplicity, and a mirror reflecting divine oneness. I think I'm going to stop here to start. Then once we have time, I'm going to move forward. So can we start maybe Baykar Abi with you this time? Can you just tell us what you understand from the very start of the first aim?
You know how the order goes. You go with the Colin Hocam first.
Okay, Colin Hocam.
Sorry, I was muted. Sorry. From this passage, there are several points, I think, here. Firstly, he's saying that light, just as light makes known the existence of all things because it enlightens the darkness, it also makes known the existence of the colors within it. He says this is analogous to life because life is the source of perfections of the cosmos. It's not just innately important because it animates things, but it actually makes known things which would not be known without life. So life is the very basis of the creation, and it's also the ultimate aim of creation. He says life is the force which gives the cosmos its unity. It animates the tiniest of created beings, and it turns that being into a living realm in its own right. It connects it with all the other realms into one vast, coherent whole. More importantly, however, life is that which makes all of the divine names manifest. Because without life, beings would lack consciousness, and without consciousness, the divine treasure would always remain hidden. So for Sayyid Nursi, life is everything. It's the light of existence, and he says consciousness is the light of life.
Can I just ask this sentence particularly to you? I mean, you know, in Turkish version or Arabic version, we know the first light is Nur, the second light is Ziya. So they are different, although the English translation is the same. Here, we would say life is the Nur of existence, consciousness is the Ziya of life.
Right.
How would you contemplate
Ziya is this analogous to the sunlight and the moonlight? That one of them is a kind of borrowed light?
Personally, I considered, I tried to think about Nur in relation to Kamer, Ziya in relation to sun, Shams.
Yeah.
So
the other way around.
But under this context, is it the essence, like consciousness is more essential or more pure compared to life, maybe? Or in other words, the beings which are conscious has to have life. We don't have any consciousness which is without life, but there are forms of life which are without consciousness. So consciousness looks like more essential, or let's say more
particular,
quality,
maybe
more particular.
So enlightening the minds, you will use maybe Ziya more than light in that context. Enlightening minds instead of, you know, just enlightening a room. Can we say it has a more spiritual side into it, or?
I'm not sure. I mean, Harun
possible. Maybe it's a detail, but I feel like there's a nice notion putting Sayyid Nursi is putting this text here.
Yeah, that's what we miss, really, if you don't have the translation. It's not clear. This puts a very, very different aspect on it now, a very, very different perspective on the whole thing.
Right.
Because life, to be life, real life, needs consciousness, as you say. Life is the light of existence, and you can have living things which are not conscious, but consciousness is even more particular there.
Right. Right.
If you want to make an analogy or a parallel, you can parallel with Rahman and Rahim. You can say that life is Rahmaniya, is a manifestation of Rahmaniya, and consciousness a manifestation of Rahimiya, because it's so particular. It's particularized life, in a sense. But it does
Yes.
it does really give you another take on this when you realize that Nursi is using two different words. So that's very good that you've brought that to our attention.
And the flow of the text also towards a life which is conscious. Angels are the form of life with consciousness. So he is building up the background from the beginning.
Yeah.
I just interrupted, but I just
no, you did the right thing. You did the right thing. I'm not sure now how to understand the veilless nature of life, because life comes without a veil. Divine perfections, as we know, such as generosity or knowledge, wisdom, beauty, they all have causal veils to which those perfections may be attributed mistakenly, of course. But life doesn't have a veil. And I find that really interesting. I don't know about consciousness, but maybe I should explain what I mean here, because each creative act of God is veiled by an apparent cause, a material cause. So, for example, when a plant grows, we know that it's the power of God that is facilitating that growth directly, together with various other divine attributes, but actually the workings of divine power are hidden. They're hidden behind a veil of material factors such as sunlight, rain, soil, nutrients, and everything that we have to use in order for plants to grow. The things to which as causes the growth of the plant is attributed commonly. And we know that this attribution is incorrect. We know that there's a connection between cause and effect, but the connection is just an apparent one. We know that causes and their effects come from the same source, that Allah is, that God is Musabibul Asbab. The cause is only seemingly producing the effect. In reality, the material cause is simply the occasion for the appearance of the effect. You know, with the fact that one of them is temporarily prior to the other one, that normally leads us to believe that they're actually linked causally. Now, the notion that causes act as veils covering God's hand of power, is another way of saying that causation, and we've said this before, it's a necessary fiction. It's an illusion that is needed in order for God to be hidden from view, because God is there to be discovered by us through our life journey. So apparent causation is a fixed feature of the time and space bound realm that we are living in. It's realm of material existence. And without the veil of material causes, we wouldn't be able to function. Now, the objective is to see past that illusion and to unveil the hand of God so that we can arrive at the truth of divine rububiyyah and sovereignty. But life, importantly, is the exception. Because, as Nursi tells us, life comes without a veil. And I've got a quote here, if I can find it. He says, where is it? It is an exceptional creature on which apparent causes have not been placed, so as to veil the disposer of power. This is in order to show clearly that it has emerged directly, without either veil or means, from the hand of dominical power. Now, my question is, we've been told that life doesn't have a veil. What is the purpose? And that's not a rhetorical question. Why is life without a veil? What is the purpose of its being without a veil?
Yeah, excellent contemplation, I would say. And there were also some more items which are without veil, such as Rahmeh, right? Maybe there were 4 of them. I remember Rahmeh, and
I don't know about Rahmah. There are certain things, certain events which are never veiled, such as the exact coming, or which you can never predict, such as the exact time that rain falls, and various other things. There are 2 or 3 things, but some of the names are not veiled, and that there is something being said there which I feel is important, but I can't just put my finger on it. And I was wondering,
yeah, let's pass this to Baykar Abi. Let's see what he has to say on this. Baykar Abi.
Assalamu alaikum, bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wassalamu ala rasulullah. First of all, maybe it's gonna be a repetition, but I want to thank everybody for bringing this up again. This very, very important topic on the table. We have been going through this very spiritual 2 weeks. You know, we are in a different spiritual realm, alhamdulillah, and really breathing this atmosphere of enjoying the existence of angels around us, inshallah. When I say it, I really mean it. It's not just words of just favoring the brothers, but I remember first being exposed to the idea of angels mentally during my middle school years, and when it was presented, I was thinking that, oh, okay, Mikael alayhi salam is doing the spring events, and Israfil is doing this. So are there like partners of God? What's happening here? And then later on, when I read the chapters, the Risales, said, oh, now I understand, the relation, the causation, and then the existence, and where the angels stand. But still, maybe the material and corporeal education is into our veins, that it is still very, very tough for me personally to bring this whole notion into my own life. Yes, as Muslims, we just directly talk to Allah. We ask from Allah, we pray Him, but there's no intercessor, so we don't put the angels in between. Most of the time it's not there. And so what's my relation? Sometimes I even used to ask myself, why this is really a pillar of Iman. So Ustad takes us into this adventure of bringing the angels again into our own lives. And where he started is a very, very key point, because we don't really think about it. We just live through the life like an animal, excuse my expression, but we don't really go into the essence of life. We don't really think about it. We don't really ponder upon what is our lives. So the life I have is not, let's say 3/4 of my body is water, or my flesh and bones. This is not to do with the life. This is something far away from life. It is this material side, this corporeal side, in reality has no living qualities. It have no ability to bring life into existence. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala shows this again and again, to us. He makes us a witness to this. And I guess we have no excuse to deny this. For example, many examples throughout the Risale. Let's say a sack of beans are sitting here for 50 years. If you don't put them into the earth, they will sit there. No difference, If you just protect them in a cool place, away from bugs and everything, don't let anybody eat it. But after 50 years, after 100 years, you put them into earth, life comes out of it. So there, at that point, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala directly blows the spirit into it. It becomes alive. It was dead. It was dead. It's not the carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen which has any essence of life, any quality of life, any whatever the life has, they don't have it. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in every single occasion shows us again and again. For example, viruses, it's now very popular. It's just outside the, you know, living bodies, living cells. It's dead. But as soon as it comes into a body, it becomes alive. It starts producing, reproducing, whatever. So, as Kolina Hojam said, you know, there should be a really important part into this. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala shows this miracle again and again, and it's a little bit, it's very much beyond the regular cause and effect relation. It's really appealing among all those others.
Yeah,
maybe I can
wonderful.
stop
So,
here. Yeah, next term maybe I can talk
so
more.
it seems like you're emphasizing the importance of life in the very last sentences that you elaborated upon. I think here, Colin Hocam, not to answer, maybe these are very long journey related questions, of course, to quest for. But it seems like it is because of the importance of life, it is without veil. So it's kind of the creator has special importance on life. So maybe also this is what is connecting us to angels. Since the creator just has, to our understanding, more importance on life, then creator's creation will be in purpose towards life and towards consciousness. And whatever we are living in should be related with the life. Any created being, even without consciousness and without life, will be serving life, as maybe in the coming passages we will see. Maybe one way to look at it, to my mind.
Yeah, I think you're right. Of course, we have to be careful when we say that life has no apparent veil, because people will say, oh, are you talking now about God of the gaps? Have you identified something that, you know, you can't explain causally? So you're saying, oh, this is the one that God creates directly. This proves the existence of God. No, that's not what we're saying. No one should labor under that, you know, under that misapprehension. What we're saying is that, I think what you're saying, Harun, is that it's just to accentuate the importance of life. It doesn't mean that, you know, the other things have causal explanations. They don't. Causes are in any case only apparently causes, if that makes sense. But I think it's, as you say, it's to accentuate the enormity of life and also its importance and significance.
Right. And also in scientific domain, we have no clue about life. I mean, it's obvious.
Absolutely none. Absolutely none.
Yeah, I mean, we cannot produce life. You know, there are artificial life projects. In other words, if there were some veils with the life, we would produce life in the lab.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
That's
absolutely.
one evidence that we have no way. I mean, we have no causal relationship for life.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ustad, I guess, gives this seed example, right? He says we are exposed for thousands of years to the blossoming and, you know, opening up of a seed, but still it's kind of mysterious for us, you know, it's in many ways. So it's
True. Shall we move to this passage? Do you want to elaborate?
No, have we got to the part where he talks about life being a manifestation of divine unity?
Yes.
I think we will be, I think from here,
right, okay,
maybe we can start like how life makes multiplicities to unity. Maybe we can. Colin Hocam, do you want to talk about this? Yeah, it's
did you read that? Did you read that section? Have you read that section?
Yes, we read this already.
All right. No, it's just that it puzzled me, because life manifests many things. I mean, at the beginning of the treatise, Ustad Nursi says that life is the source of the perfections of the cosmos. It gives the cosmos its unity. It animates tiny creatures and turns tiny creatures into living realms. And then I thought, well, life is a manifestation of divine unity, not only in the sense that it manifests the divine life, but it also, you use the word multiplicity. It enables us to perceive multiplicity. And you can't understand unity without understanding multiplicity. So life manifests both of the aspects of God's unity, his wahidiyya and his ahadiyya, his unity and his oneness. And if life didn't exist, what would we have? We'd have just inert, inanimate matter. Nothing could be known. So life is that thing which makes the creator intellectually knowable, because what it does, it makes the world perceptible to our senses. And without sense perception, many of the divine names would go unrecognized. They would go ununderstood, if that's a word. And Ustad gives a very good example. He gives the example of a mountain, and he compares it with a bee. He says the mountain, it's inert, inanimate, it's unable to move from its place. It can't see, it can't hear, it can't speak. Whatever exists beyond that mountain can never be known by the mountain because it lacks life. And then he mentions the bee. And the bee, which has life, owing to its having life, it's able to establish connections with the rest of the cosmos, the whole of the rest of the cosmos, and with plants and flowers especially. So it's able to engage with the whole of creation, and that's impossible for the mountain, despite its deceptive size and its strength and its enormity.
Yeah, it looks like it is really existing.
It really does. It really does. And if it does, it's only because of angels, which is another issue which we can talk about. But if that bee has such connections on account of, this elixir that we call life, how much more sophisticated and elevated will human life be? Given our sublime faculties and capabilities. So it's a perfect comparison that he makes, for us to understand why it is that life manifests divine unity.
Biker Abi, do you want to contribute on this?
Thank you for opening up. Yes, it's a wonderful example we need to really contemplate upon. And Risale-i Nur starts secretly, I guess, in a very magical sense, I'll say, and then it opens up step by step. So these first sentences are very theoretical to me. We said life is the light of existence and consciousness is the light of life, but step by step we are going into it. So I guess this is a key statement. Life appropriates everything for living beings. It is as though it makes one thing the owner of everything. So this was the example for that, the mountain and bee comparison. Through life, a living thing may say, all these things belong to me. The world is my house. The universe is my property, given to me by my owner. So maybe we need to sit back and look into it, again. Now, let's say we have this whole galaxy turning around us, moon and sun, and our world is moving. We have day and night. We have sun is rising. We have the clouds, coming upon us. It's raining. I don't know, it's light. We have lightning, we have storms, we have this and that, but there is no life. So it's a total nonsense, it doesn't really make sense. So why is all these things are turning around? What are they doing? But when life comes into the scene, now we say, oh, they're serving one purpose. There's a unity, there's a harmony, there's something, there just makes them work together. So first, this really tells us about the Tawheed. It's a big stamp on the Tawheed in the universe. Without the life, it's all overwhelming. It's too much for us. It's beyond our comprehension. It's so much to just look into it. And then, of course, Koran Hocam put it very beautifully. There's this afterlife, the conscience side, So we have a life with conscience. So it's also very important to make the next step. So only with conscience we can make sense out of it. But if the life wasn't there, even we cannot talk about a unity, something serving to one cause, because it's impossible to wrap up everything rolling around why they are doing these things. What's the purpose behind this?
Very nice. So there's a comment from the chat that I can read. The question about why life doesn't have veil. If life also can be explained by cause, there is no clue to find creator. I think you're mentioning about lives being huge, as Spiker Abi mentioned. It's a huge stamp of the creator. It's a unique stamp, let's say. We know life is one of the very unique stamps of the creator. I think life can make us to understand every cause belong to creator directly. That's the point. When we understand life, maybe we can, it's a very, very, let's say, quality-based evidence for us, for the creator, to understand creator. May I ask this particular sentence on my screen? It is, life is the cause of their qualities being realized. I think this sentence is also very important. The creator wants us to understand the qualities of existence, it seems like, and it is done by the life. Without life, we cannot realize the qualities. So do you want to contemplate upon the qualities revealed by life?
I think that just as life itself reveals multiplicity in a general sense, in a particular sense, it reveals the nuances in our own existence, in our own particular existence as individuals. So our qualities are also realized. We're not just sort of amorphous blobs of matter. We are sophisticatedly created beings with capabilities and faculties and talents and desires and ambitions and senses, both external and internal. All of these are realized by life. As Baikar said, it reveals all of these things, all of these qualities. They wouldn't be revealed. We wouldn't be able to know them or fathom them, because of our sense perception, for example. Through our sense perception, there are lots of things that we can perceive and which tell us about our maker and ourselves, of course. So all of these things are revealed by angels, actually. So they are bearing life with them as they come to us and translate divine names from Malakut into Mulk. But at the same time, they are doing, it is actually revelatory, because what they're doing is they're allowing our own selves to be revealed as individuals and the creator to be revealed as the creator. So all of these qualities are realized through life, and life is mediated, as you were saying before, by the angelic presence.
Wonderful. Anything more, Baikar Abi, on this?
As Koran Hocam said, I guess this looks to the consciousness part. So with the consciousness, we start looking into some different qualities. But I guess it's also looking into the relation side. So even though I am having, let's say, some raindrops or some sunlight, it looks like a material, but there's two sides into it. Of course, one is the material side. I'm warming up, or I'm cooling down. But besides that, I feel a compassion, I feel care, I feel this relation in between. So all those qualities comes with interaction between us, and it's only possible with life. Otherwise, yes, we are pulling, we have powers, pulling, pushing, I know, acting, but without the meaning, it's very weak. Just hitting each other, whatever. It's just physical, relation. But only with this spiritual relation, this manevi relation, we can be aware, really aware of those qualities, I guess. By myself, it makes little sense, but by interaction, a social interaction, or a humanly observation of the universe, it comes out more appealing. I guess at least makes sense in my own realm, in my own understanding.
Can we at this point relate life's helping qualities being realized? Can we relate this to a manifestation of beautiful names of Allah with the last paragraph on my screen? It's a sort of manifestation of divine unity in the levels of multiplicity, and a mirror reflecting divine oneness, especially in relation to name Ahad, if you want to talk about this. It seems like there is a strong relationship between life and name Ahad, and whatever it requires, implies.
Well, we know that life is necessary for us to understand multiplicity, and it's through multiplicity that we understand both Wahidiyya and Ahadiyya, both unity and oneness. It's through that we can understand that everything is created by one creator, but also everything is unique. So the uniqueness or the unicity shows the Ahadiyya, whereas the collective nature of creation, the fact that everything that is unique is with other things which are unique, created by the same creator. So Ahadiyya and Wahidiyya come together here, I think. Multiplicity obviously is showing the Wahidiyya, and the Ahadiyya is the unicity or the uniqueness. They wouldn't be understandable or fathomable without life. Just imagine the mountain. The mountain sees nothing, hears nothing, and can't move. Now, if we saw nothing, heard nothing, and couldn't move, how many of the divine names would be missed?
And we can read from backwards also, right? I mean, if we are subject to reflecting many names in terms of Esma-il Husna, it means our life is kind of getting into perfection. I mean, which life is more perfect? The one which is a better mirror to the reflections of Esma-il Husna.
I think that's where consciousness comes in, isn't it, really?
Right. So the flow is towards consciousness.
I think so, yeah. As you said, I mean, you were the one who brought it up before with Nur and Zia, very opposite as well, because without that, we couldn't have understood, the dynamics between life and consciousness. Consciousness is a kind of life that has been finessed. And that finessed life is what is appropriate to human beings. There are other conscious beings as well, but there must be something which is the light of consciousness as well, which he doesn't mention here, but there is something which picks us out from the crowd, if you wish, as human beings, and elevates us above the rest of conscious creation.
Wonderful. So let me go over this really quick. I think you already elaborated on this example. Consider the following: a lifeless object, even if it's a great mountain, is an orphan, a stranger, and alone. Its only relations are with the place in which it is situated and with the things which encounter it. Whatever else there is in the cosmos, it does not exist for the mountain. For the mountain has neither life through which it might be related to life, nor consciousness by which it might be concerned. This example, you already made use of this. But amazing, I mean, when we ask ourselves, maybe we say that mountain really exists, you know, it looks like existing. But compared to the bee is very small in terms of physical being, but since it has life, it has more relationship. Its body enlarges as big as the world, at least.
Yeah, this is why, of course, the mountain particularly needs angels to represent its glorifications, because, you know, inanimate beings, we know they also glorify God, but they glorify through the glorification of angels. So again, angels are necessary there for inanimate objects, inanimate beings.
Baykar abi, do you want to say on mountain's existence versus the bee analogy? What does Said Nursi want to mention with this comparison, mountain versus bee?
Well, this comparison is a really with the definition of Colin Hocam, a paradigm changer for me. You know, I believe this is the comparison that I refer most, you know, in the whole Risale, and it's really amazing.
That's your comparison, huh?
Yes, and the bee is a miracle mentioned in the Quran, as we know, but here how Ustad brings it into our attention in terms of what you point out, you know, in Wahidi and Ahadi example. We know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's beautiful names are manifested all around the universe, but if it wasn't for the bee, it would be really, really tough for us, you know, to observe it, or let's say any other living being, including ourselves, because it's only in life all those, you know, many beautiful names are focused, and we manifest it all together as we observe in the context of Ahadiyya. It's only possible with that living being, and so that's a very comprehensive mirror to the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in that sense. Otherwise, again, you know, it will be for us really tough, you know, maybe impossible to go all around the universe and try to see these manifestations. So a bee is a very small creature, but if it was just for the bee, let's say, you know, nothing is around, but it's just that bee, again, you know, the days should be following nights, and then you know, all the seasons should be there, oceans and atmosphere should be working, even the sun and the moon, you know, they should be doing their missions, and just for the sake of that bee, the whole universe should be working if it was just for that bee. So by itself, it's just you know, it's such a shining mirror to the ahadiyya of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that makes it very easier, you know, for us to observe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's beautiful names.
Thank you. At this point, I can ask if any contributor wants to chime in about anything that we discussed so far. Maybe if you want to raise hands, I can just have you in. Otherwise, we can move. At the beginning, I had seen a raising hand, but I couldn't take it, so my apologies. Okay, so yeah, I think we discussed this passage, so let me read this really quick. Now consider a tiny object like a bee, for example. The instant life enters it, it establishes such a connection with the universe that it is as though it concludes a trading agreement with it, especially with the flowers and plants of the earth. It can say, the earth is my garden, it is my trading house. Thus, through the unconscious instinctive senses which impel and stimulate it, in addition to well-known 5 external senses and inner senses of animate beings, the bee has a feeling for and a familiarity and reciprocal relationship with most of the species in the world, and they are at its disposal. Yeah, very detailed explanation of how bee acts because of the life it has, right? If life then displays its effects thus in the tiniest of animate beings, certainly when it rises to the highest level, that of man, it will be revealed and extended and illuminated to such a degree that just as a human being is able to move through the rooms of his house with his consciousness and mind, which are the light of life, so he may travel through the higher and spiritual and corporeal worlds with them. Yeah, now we came to another, let's say we are moving. So how does life, how is life perfected when it comes to the level of human life or life of man? And how does corporeal and spiritual worlds reflected on his spirit? And looks like it is bi-directional, right? So he can be guessed, and the worlds can be guessed also in his world. So it's bi-directional. Colin Hocam, do you want to contemplate on this part?
I just think that whatever is in the bee is in human beings, but to a, an infinitely greater degree, clearly. We have not just consciousness, we have self-awareness, which bees don't have. And that is a huge thing. Bees are aware, but they're not aware that they're aware. So I think that is what separates us from the rest of animate conscious creatures. So it says we may travel through the higher and the spiritual and corporeal worlds with our mind, whereas the bee is limited to its field of operation.
Mm-hmm.
And within that field of operation, it has certain disposable power of disposal over its faculties, which are appropriate to the sphere in which it's operating, but it can't move beyond there. We can move beyond there. We can imagine not just our immediate sphere of operation, which is our house and our workplace, that the village or the town where we live, but we can imagine or try to imagine galaxies, distant galaxies or states. We can travel back in time in our minds to the past. We can surmise about the future. So our field of operation is infinite, actually.
Wonderful. What about the other direction? Those worlds to come as guests to his mirror-like spirit.
That's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, I find this interesting.
Yeah.
And this is amazing. It looks like even we don't know our capabilities. Looks like
I'm not sure how to understand that. Are they invited? Does it mean that they're invited guests? If you summon up something in your mind, do they come? Maybe they do. In the world of meaning, maybe that's where we meet. If you're thinking about something, then those worlds come as guests to our spirit, because we summon them there, and they're reflected there and depicted there. If you imagine something, or if you conjure something up in your thought, then in a sense that world comes to you. I don't know. I need to think about this. You spot things in the text which I've just gone by and not seen. So you have, mashallah, you have a very acute understanding.
Right. The goodness is, the blessing is reading Risale-i Nur in Turkish. It's a blessing, I would say. Reading it in English, I think it's somewhat torture, compared to reading it in
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, under normal circumstances, I always have the original next to me when I'm doing the translation,
Right,
for example.
I mean, it's easier to spot, you know, in
Yeah.
Turkish. Yeah.
Well, no, I think you have to be, you know, perspicacious as well. You have to be very perceptive. But that's something to think about. I don't have an answer for that.
Yeah, before asking Baykar Abi the same question, Hüsamettin has an excellent comment. I think I want to read that. In addition to the consciousness, the specifications of the beings are realized or manifested through their encounter with the life. For example, life of plants makes the elements useful as well as manifested on their body in lots of different forms. That is, elements which are utter meaningless masses without life become some amazing building blocks of a working system. The complexity and meaningfulness increase by existence of animals and finally human beings. Consciousness, I guess, is the final step to the completion of the system.
MashaAllah. That's excellent.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you, Samettin.
It's the chain of being, isn't it? It's the evolution. It's what Rumi talks about when he says, I died as a mineral and became a plant. I died as a plant and became an animal. I died as an animal and became human. What will happen when I die, you know? And he talks then about, you know, flying with the angels. I mean, it's wonderful. It's Osama has summed it up really.
Yeah, of course, here the society is very critical with the word evolution, you know, it's always, you know, challenging.
Yeah, of course, yeah. But
we are
not
not
kind
talking
of,
about Darwinian evolution.
No, not Darwinian evolution with all its randomness and its mutations and all of that. No.
But
I mean,
perfection, right? Everything is towards perfection.
Everything is, yeah. And when we say that we're created from soil, you know, from clay, when you eat your you know, your lamb chop, your lamb has been feeding on the grass and, you know, ingesting the minerals from the soil. So the minerals go into the grass goes into the lamb, and the lamb comes into us, and they are elevated by that process, and everything is going towards the perfection of consciousness.
This
So it's
particular
a great
idea could be very dangerous, Colin Abi.
Yeah, it can be very
Most of
dangerous.
the time when we gather together with brothers and overeat, this is our excuse. We are, you know, bringing those particles into the light.
You're being kind to the lamb. Yeah.
Very nice joke, and it reflects the reality. So that's amazing. The flow of this treatise again is towards perfection of life, which is becoming by consciousness. And Hüsamettin, I think, just wrote it perfectly, right? From the inanimate beings turning towards conscious parts of the system. And that's amazing, the creation. Allah wants, in a way, everything to be conscious as a whole.
Yeah.
To reflect the names. So that's amazing. So we cannot neglect, on the contrary, angels to be considered to the highest scale to reflect this consciousness part.
There's another comment in chat.
The last one?
From Brother Adam, is it?
From Brother Adam's
yeah.
family. Will you please share what Imam Nursi Radiallahu anh says about the names being experienced in heaven? Is it still through the forms we know here, or are the forms dissolved, so to speak? Khalil Hocam, do you want to take this?
It's a huge question, isn't it? We all we know is that whatever is in heaven is a pale shadow of it is in this world. You know, this world is a pale shadow of heaven, and so the veils will come off most of the beings, you know, to expose the names beneath them. So the names will still be fathomable and understandable, but not in the form that they exist here, because here they're mediated by, first of all, materiality, corporeality, by the causal nexus. They're mediated by all of these things. So as far as we can understand, as far as we know from the Quran, which is where we get our knowledge of the next world, the names will be in a very different form, I think.
Yeah, very, very nice, different question. It makes us to think about. But I think it is
There-
under the framework that you just drew upon, Kalın Hocam. Baykar abi?
There's beautiful definitions of the heaven in the narrations. Maybe some of them should be helpful, could be helpful in contemplating for this question. But I guess the only simple way of understanding this, as Colin Hocam said, starting how we observe the beautiful names of Allah Subhanahu wa Taala here in this Alam-i Shahada for now, and then we can extract meanings for the hereafter. That's the only tool we have in hand now, and as we have been doing since the beginning of the discussion, and if you try to wrap up everything we talked about, we ended this last statement we talked about. We said a human being is able to move through the rooms of his house with his consciousness and mind, which are the light of life, so he may travel through the higher and the spiritual and corporeal worlds with them. So not only we go and try to understand those manifestations in this universe, but in a way we build up a new world in our own realm, in our own understanding, and it could be equally meaningful, equally important, equally valuable in the presence of Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, those manifestations in our own realm. It's kind of a nice example of this concept of ubudiyya and uluhiyya and ubudiyya. So we have the Lordship of Allah Subhanahu wa Taala. He manifests His beautiful names in the whole universe, but it's only with the consciousness, mind, heart, soul that we reflect or we reply back to this huge meaning in our own realms, in our own understanding. So it is, Allah willed this and make it a must in this universe and make it maybe a reason for His creation of the universe. There is a realm of ubudiyya, worship, which is kind of facing that meaning of uluhiyya, so that hidden treasury is kind of explored and understood more and more. So it's a huge concept related to many chapters. I don't know. I'm still processing, trying to wrap up in my mind, but that's all for now.
Thank you for sharing. And I think we are out of time as always, so time is never enough. Thanks everyone for joining. But before, Shia, we just have one more question. Do we experience heaven in parallel to our consciousness of names here? Yeah, I'm just putting forward this question. Do you want to scratch a little bit, Colin Hocam? Do we experience heaven in parallel to our consciousness of names here?
It's another big question, It's just the short answer would be we experience heaven as we understand it here. And also, to the degree that we understand and submit to the Creator.
There is saying of Sayyid Nursi, the belief, Iman, just holds the seed of tree of paradise, right? So
yeah, absolutely.
I think since belief holds the seed of tree of paradise, obviously it has great relation to manifestation of names. As we are reflecting more, it looks like our heaven is constructed, under construction.
Yeah, that's right. I think next week is the last session on angels. Is that right? It's the fourth week.
I'm not quite sure. Maybe it will be a matter of discussion. What is it good to have a last session?
I no, I mean, I could go on speaking about it or listening to it for a long time, but we usually do them in 4-week stints, don't we?
True.
Different subjects. But again, as you say, it's up for the conveners to discuss, with the moderators to discuss.
Right. Maybe it can be discussed once we are out of this session. Yeah, since it is closing, good questions are coming. Can belief or ma'rifatullah increase in heaven?
That's the purpose of existence, so it will continue forever, I guess, right? So, and there's no limit in understanding of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
I think it is kind of tricky question, since perfection requires this world of examination, and hereafter just closes this door. So
there's no
more.
examination.
Whatever you did here, it is done.
There's no examination, but there will be progression. There will be movement, forward movement. Whether that is understanding more deeply is a different issue.
Yeah.
Someone saying that.
Yeah.
Someone is saying in chat that please keep doing these discussions on angels. We've only scratched the surface.
That's true. Let's see.
Inshallah.
Of course, we are here to contemplate together. So
I think that it resonates with people. People are hungry for angel knowledge because we've never been exposed to it, really.
Right. Yeah, we will keep these questions in mind also. This increase of ma'rifatullah and all others in mind. Hopefully, maybe we can respond next week. Try to talk about it. Maybe starting with it. So
Inshallah.
To be loyal to time, Colin Hocam, do you want to make a prayer for us to end it peacefully?
Inshallah. Subhanaka la ilma lana illa ma 'allamtana. Innaka antal alimul hakim. Oh Lord, the only knowledge that we have is the knowledge that you have taught us, and you are the omniscient, the all-wise. Please keep us steadfast in our pursuit of knowledge, in our understanding of you, in our understanding of your beautiful names, and in our understanding of your servants, the angels. Inshallah.
Thank you, everyone.